So far we have used relative and absolute position to lay out or create our main structural layout. Now let's go inside one of our elements and begin to add elements within, okay, that we might use for various layouts. So we're just going to start in section 1. And I'm going to do this here. Let's just press return and then return. And after section 1, we're going to just use a generic div like so. And we're going to target this div with a class. And for right now, let's just go class equals, and we'll call this box 1. And we're going to copy. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and just put O1 inside, and then we're going to copy. And we're going to change box 1 to 2, and then we'll make this one box 3 for its class name, and let's update the numbers that will show up on our screen also. Okay, so right now we have our generic div element. We've added a class to target this div element. This block is going to go all the way across the section. So we're going to go ahead and control these. So we are in section 1. So let's go ahead and scroll down and we will find section 1, and we want to keep our rules in the order that we are using our elements. So box 1, box 2, box 3 will follow section 1. So let's just go ahead and create dot box 1, and then we'll add our curly braces, and let's use what we've already, let's go ahead and just use rules we've already created. So we'll just copy from section 1 here. It'll be close enough. And the position will remain relative. Let's go with an absolute of 100 px, and we're going to match that with 100 px on the height. Margin and padding will be 0. And our border, I'm just going to change this to dark gray. Okay. And so now box 1 should, this div should only be 100 by 100 pixels. Let's copy. Let's jump down here. Let's copy box 1. And go right after box 1, paste, and we're going to update the class name. This will be 2, and then let's paste one more time, and we'll update our class name to 3, and we will save. And we'll go ahead and update our view, and you will see that we have our boxes 1, 2, and 3 in the normal flow of the document, right behind our type section, which happens to be a defaulting to a p tag. Okay, so we have these 3 boxes. They're relative in their position to themselves. So number 2 is relative to following 1, 3 is relative to following 2. All right, so we can move these elements around 2 different ways and use relative position. Okay, so, or we're going to look at two different ways. So let's go to box 3, and on our margin we're going to go ahead and let's use negative 100 px on the top, 0 on the right, 0 on the bottom, and let's go 120 px on the left, and we'll save. And let's go back and preview. And you'll see that number 2 jumps over here and number 3 moves up. Okay, so we can use margin. So we could take number 3 and we could adjust negative margin, and we could add more left margin, and we can get our element over here. So it's not really ideal, but we can use margin to move our elements around I should say relative to the one or to the element which precedes it. So let's go back and we're going to look at something a little different here. So just keep in mind how this area lays out when we are using margin, positive and negative margin, to move our elements around. So if we go back and we go to box 2, and now we're going to set our margin back to 0, and this time after position relative, let's go ahead and top, and our top will be negative 100 pixels, and our left, so we'll position this element from the top and the left of its parent. So let's go left, and we'll go 120 px, and we will save. So let's go ahead and take a look at what happens this time. All right, so we're going to update, and now that we're using top and left and not margin, what's happening is this position right here is being reserved. That's why number 3 is staying down in this position. Okay, so number 2 is going up negative 100 pixels, and we're going over 120 pixels. But number 3 believes that number 2 is still in the original position. Okay, so we can use left and top, and you could probably work in the other, you could probably, I think you could use right and top and right, but that might be for absolute. You'd probably be best just dealing with top and left to move elements around. So you can imagine if we wanted number 3 to be up here, then we would have to take number 3 and we would have to go negative 200 px, and then we could come over on the left to be 240. Okay, so if this is 120, this would be 240 here. Okay, so that's not ideal. There's better ways to move our elements around than using margin to take them from the normal flow of the document, which is stacked, and then trying to lay them out horizontally. Okay, so we can do it with margin, and we can do it with left and top positions with our relatively positioned elements, but we can also use absolutes, and we're going to look at absolutes in the next video.